Well, welcome along to tonight's information session with ourselves here at Digital Scott at Education Scotland and some of our team over at the Digital Schools Award, including our validators and also some of our educators that we've been working with over the last year on the Equitable Creative Coding Award. And we're going to have some insight on the Digital Wellbeing Award too. So welcome along to Dr. Catherine Dewitt. Catherine is a DSAS validator. She's also a researcher in digital education and wellbeing, and also a consultant in education technology, as well as all these other hats that she wears at the same time too. We've got Amanda and Cara from South Ayrshire as well. So hi, thanks for joining us, and Callum and Stephen from Northland too. So this award, I'm just going to do a wee brief bit of intro on this one. It's one of the newest awards, the Equitable Creative Coding Award, or the ECCo Award as we're calling it, not the ECCa Award as I've been calling it by mistake for the last few months. It's a new special recognition badge from DSAS. The award framework recognises and celebrates cross-cutting approaches to computational thinking and coding, and it's from early level, ASN, primary and secondary, so it's right through. You'll notice in the framework that there's familiar language, familiar phrases, and that's been taken from current policy in Scotland. So policy or documents such as how good is our school or our ELC, realising the ambition, and of course curriculum for excellence. So it's been designed and created and currently being tested by educators in Scotland, and some of them have got in the call, some of them have gone right the way through the award process and now have the award, and they're going to share that insight tonight. Now, you might have noticed a little cat there. I'm sure many of you will recognise who that little cat is or what app that cat's from. Of course, it's a little Scratch cat from the Scratch apps. And the reason that's there is because this term ECC, so Equitable Creative Coding, it comes from the Scratch Foundation. And the design and creation process of this and of the framework is all based on the principles. If you're familiar with the work of Mitch Resnick, you might have came across his book before, Lifelong Kindergarten, and of course he's a creator of Scratch. But Mitch and his work with MIT and all his research builds on these 4 principles. He calls the 4 Ps of creative learning. And the 4 Ps stands for projects, passion, peers, and play. The 4 Ps encourage engagement. So as you're imagining, you're creating, you're sharing, and you're reflecting. So it's all about opportunities for free play. In the book, if you're familiar with it, this is called Low Floors, High Ceilings, and Wide Walls. So that's really at the essence of the Equitable Creative Coding Award. The ethos of the Scratch Foundation as well is all about equity. So this award is for all settings, no matter how limited the resources are. The unplugged elements, so the unplugged computational thinking is a really big part of the award. It's a way of thinking, a way of solving problems creatively and coming together with your peers.
So thanks very much, Eva, for that introduction, and thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to attend this evening's session. And I really hope that you'll leave this session inspired to register for the Digital Schools Award and embark on your journey. And this evening will be really enlightening in terms of hearing from different schools who've been there and got the T-shirt and can share their experiences. And we're really grateful for the schools that are able to attend and the early years that are able to attend this evening. First of all, I'd like to sort of share with you a picture of why we want to do these awards. Let me just, I'm using a different screen, 2 screens, and I'm not sure if it's moving on or not. Can you see my next slide?
Yeah, we can see that. Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Okay. So the reason why we are asking you to consider the Digital Schools Award is because it is addressing a big problem. And the reason why I got involved in the Digital Schools programme is because of what is being termed the fourth industrial revolution. And since the 80s and 90s, we've seen this huge increase in digital technology. And the difficult with that is that everything is becoming automated. And we see it around us all the time, don't we, with self-checkouts in supermarkets and self-check-ins in hotels and screens in McDonald's and automated trains. There's lots of examples. And as a result of that, jobs are changing as well, and we are needing to reskill for the change of jobs that that we're not even aware will be invented in years to come. And the fourth industrial revolution, in combination with COVID, has triggered much faster than anyone could have imagined and predicted this kind of double disruption. And there are forecasts of increased unemployment because digital job sector have increased 150%. And there's a huge area in Scotland employing 100,000 and contributing 4.9 billion. And there's 13,000 jobs that are unfulfilled because we do not have people with the right digital skills. And pretty much every job that you think about now requires some level of digital skill at every level in every organisation. Digital skills levels in Scotland are behind the rest of the UK as a whole as well. Only 77% of people in Scotland aged over 15 can complete all the 7 tech skills considered to be foundation level, compared to the average in the UK, which is 84%. So, you know, what the answer, the question that I always want to ask is why? Why do we want to do this? And the Scottish Government's response to this has been a huge amount of advisory documents and reports looking at the area. And there's lots of interesting reason around this, but not necessarily practical solutions. And there was a report by Mark Logan, who was CEO of Skyscanner, who looked at all the issues around this area. And they call it the tech ecosystem in Scotland. And Mark identified one of the 3 main pillars of trying to improve digital skills in Scotland is actually that we need to upskill the Scottish population. And that there's been no surprises to the people here this evening that the answer to this is education. But the challenges we face in Scottish schools is that there is a decrease in learners taking computer science and digital in Scotland. In the last 10 years, there's been a 25% decline in computer science teachers in schools, which means that there's more than 17% of schools with no dedicated computer teacher. And part of the problem as well, which is a challenge in schools, is that we've never made the responsibility of all learners along along with health and wellbeing and maths and literacy. So that's a little bit about the problem and why we're doing this in Scotland and why we have got industry involved in improving the skills of learning, because it is critical for learners to thrive in the future and also for our country's economy. So the Scottish Government have initiated a number of different initiatives, and digital schools is one of them, and it's been going since 2016. It's backed by the Scottish Government, and it's a real credible solution to improving digital skills. And what other national framework do we have out there that is really trying to promote digital competencies in learners? This applying for a digital award, you'll have the support of a digital validator, and there's a real network of schools supporting each other to achieve the digital awards. And the framework to achieve the digital awards is a really good way to start to develop your digital strategy, and will really help you review where you are in your school, and where the gaps are, and what you need to do to move forward and continue your digital learning. The awards provide a really good roadmap for you, giving you a framework to integrate digital skills into the curriculum and into your learning and teaching. And they really help to give you a boost at school. It really boosts confidence and the competency of both staff and children. And it provides a real credible solution to addressing the national issues. And this is why your role in schools is crucially important in driving this forward and really helping us develop the skills of Scotland for the future. And on the slide here, there's some feedback and comments from schools that have been awarded about how it really is a real celebration and a real boost for everybody that's involved. And you'll hear from schools this evening about how there's lots to celebrate, and it really is something that really sort of is a catalyst for future development of your digital journey. So there's 3 stages involved in registering for for any of the awards, and this evening we're focusing on the Digital Wellbeing Award and the ECCo Award, the Equitable Creative Coding Award. And the first thing that you need to do is register on the Digital School website, and then you're given a framework to review and to be able to carry out a self-review of yourself, of your school against that framework, and you begin to upload documentary evidence to show how you meet that criteria. And then when you've worked through the framework and the criteria and you've submitted your evidence, then it will be time to arrange for a digital validator to visit your school virtually to carry out the validation visit. And we have, as digital school validators, we'll have discussions with the school leaders and the senior management team, the head teacher. Sometimes I have children that hold their iPads and take me around on a tour of the classrooms while they're in progress and point out different elements of digital learning taking place. Or it might be discussions with teachers and pupils who sit around a screen and talk to me directly. Any method that suits you is fine. And then it's a good time to sort of reflect on your achievements as well. It's a good milestone point where you can look as a school at what you've achieved and where you want to develop moving forward. And you will receive at the end of the validation visit a written report from the validator against each of the criteria. There'll be comment against each of those and how you've achieved. And you'll receive a digital certificate of recognition and a digital badge. And we also encourage you to also celebrate your learners as well and give recognition to children that have been involved in your digital journey. And you'll receive certificates so that you can host a special assembly and issue those certificates to children as well. So looking specifically at the Digital Wellbeing Award, the Digital Wellbeing Award framework can support you to your setting to develop a strategic approach to cyber resilience and internet safety. And it's developed with Education Scotland and supported by the Scottish Government, Child Protection Unit and Police Scotland. And the award recognises the link between safe and appropriate use of digital technologies and the well-being of all users. And it integrates the Digital Learn Scot, Consume, Create, Communicate, and the Scottish Government's recognise, react and recover policies and resources so that schools can implement key policy drivers when applying for the award. So all of these awards provide a whole school approach roadmap for promoting students' digital well-being or digital technology or the coding award. All of them are developing this whole school approach and providing schools with a useful roadmap for you to develop your strategy. And along with the award criteria, which encompasses leadership and learning and teaching, student digital competence and COPL, the framework provides a wide variety of links and resources and examples on which your schools can draw in, both applying for the award and in planning areas for development. So this is an overview of the Digital Wellbeing Award and the different kind of areas that it's looking at. And on the Digital Schools website, you'll find a whole host of resources to support you in this. You can also look up schools who have already achieved the award and have volunteered to be a mentor for other schools, and you can get in touch with them to find out about how they approach their journey and where they are and what kind of evidence that they submitted. What I would really encourage you all to do at the end of this session, following this session, is to go away and register on the Digital Schools website, make that first step and register, and have a look at the criteria, have a look at the awards and look at the different frameworks and decide which one you think that you might be ready for. You can do them in any order. You can do them more than one award in parallel if you think that will be helpful. It's up to you, whatever suits your school. But it's really good to have a look at the framework and carry out an assessment against that criteria for that award. Have a look at the framework and see where you are, and think about the evidence that you can collate already and submit. And more often than not, you're much further ahead than what you think you are, and there's already evidence that you would be able to submit. We don't want the award to be really onerous and lots of work. So do think about perhaps being really selective about picking perhaps 2 or 3 examples of evidence that you can submit against the criteria to demonstrate how you are carrying out that particular part of the framework and demonstrate that evidence. And don't worry as well about getting a date in the diary as well with your validator at Digital Schools, and book a date for your validation visit, even if you're at the start of your journey, because it's a really nice way to sort of have a milestone and something to work to. And if you find that you're not ready when the date comes along, that's absolutely fine and it can be changed. But it's sometimes good to get a date in the diary and have something to work towards. And also, don't be concerned. What we find whenever we work with schools is that they are really often ready or nearly ready to apply for the award, but are often nervous about making that step and registering. But what I would say is don't worry, because you do have someone like myself. I'm a digital validator, someone who will support you along your journey. You can ask questions to us at any time. And as you're submitting the evidence, we'll be looking at that and assessing you as well, and keeping an eye on your journey. And if we felt that you weren't ready, we would have a discussion with you and talk to you about that, or perhaps say, or have you thought about perhaps a boosting your evidence here in this area, or perhaps having a look at such a thing. So that there is that guidance there, so don't worry. And what I would really say is encourage you to get on the journey and register following this event. So that's everything that I wanted to sort of say. I don't really want to hog the floor, because I really want you to hear from the schools directly who've been through the journey. So I'll stop sharing there.
Thank you. Hello, it's so lovely to be here. I'm just to basically introduce the phenomenal team at Prestwick North Early Years Centre who jumped at the chance. I don't know if I could say jumped at the chance, but anyway, they ended up on the pilot. And I know that they've been on a massive, massive journey, and all I did was sort of support a little bit, twist their arm a little bit maybe, and then when I went in to kind of help them with reviewing their evidence before they submitted, I was completely blown away by what they had gathered. So I didn't really need to do anything other than support and encourage. And so I really want to hand over to them, because I know that they can talk about their journey and the things that they were concerned about and worried about. And I know part of that was, have we done enough? Do we have enough information? Do we understand enough? And they were incredible. So I'm going to hand over to them and enjoy. I'm sure if you've got any questions, they'll be happy to answer.
And I'm Cara. We are both EYPs at Prestwick North. Before we start, we just want to thank you for being invited along to share our award with you all, and also a massive thank you to Amanda for all your help and support for getting us from start to finish with the award, helping us at the very end. We're just going to show a wee quick slideshow of kind of the questions that maybe have kind of come up. I take it you can see it, yeah. Of just about why we applied for the award and various wee slides to go. So it's kind of basically just, I kind of read through and hopefully you'll join up at the end. So basically why we applied for the award was we recognised the importance of computational thinking and coding to enhance learning and develop within the early years, to further develop the knowledge that meets and exceeds the standards, and support us as practitioners to integrate digital tools within the nursery. So what did we do to gain the award? So before starting, we had to look at the different 5 criteria that were shared with us. So we printed it off, so we had it in like booklets. We then felt, after looking at them,
the computational thinking, the world around us, was probably one of the easiest for us to start with. So we used the guidance that was provided, and we broke the kind of criteria down, had a look at the examples that they gave us, and then we really just kind of took it day by day and started gathering the evidence, and then brought it together on a PowerPoint. The stuff we're going to show you is pictures, but we did have videos. I think there was some voice notes and stuff, so we did do a wee mix when we're gathering our evidence.
It definitely, when we started off, we felt we were quite overwhelmed to begin with, not knowing where we were going, what we were doing. We looked at each other quite a lot and thought, I don't know whether we're doing this right. We didn't really know what was expected. What was expected of us. So it turned out to be much easier once we started than anticipated. When it came to gathering evidence, we discovered that many experiences were already engaged. We were already engaging in, such as identifying shapes and patterns and processes and sequences. It was something that we were doing in the EYC every day, but we didn't necessarily put it down to coding and these sort of things. So, like I say, after what seemed like quite a daunting challenge, we quickly realised the children were experiencing these opportunities on a daily basis without us realising. We started to document and reflect on these experiences, and were able to clearly demonstrate how they were developing their skills and the ability to break down complex tasks and manageable steps. It really, I think once we started, we really thought, oh, this isn't just as scary as we initially thought.
And I think now when we're doing it, now because we've done the awards and we're doing things like in the EYC, we can link that, like we know now that that is what it is, if you get what I mean. We do it every single day. So these are just some slides that we've pulled together from our submission. So some of the slides from some of the PowerPoints that we handed in. So it's just photos of some of the children. They were able to identify pattern just from their clothes. And these were the skills that became essential for problem solving and logical reasoning.
Again, this was a pattern. Again, so we've looked at the pattern, identifying pattern on their clothes, but then we took it again that step further, which is something that we do all the time, doing the beads, creating this two-step pattern easily with wee pegs, sorry, not beads, and persevering and continuing to make more patterns off his own back. So these again are things that we were doing in the nursery, and we probably weren't thinking that this was what we were doing. So easy, really easy, something you're doing all the time.
Again, just some more pictures of children. They were doing pattern, but this time they were creating their own kilts and they were using material to do this. So it was introducing fundamental concepts of the computational thinking. The children were really engaged in this, and it was the process of sequencing and repetition, which is all linked to coding.
And here we had two children, again, making a sequencing pattern. They were talking about the picture cards to do their snack routine. So again, snack routine is obviously something that you do on a daily basis at nursery. So we picked the cards, we asked the children which part of the sequence would come first, which would be next. So again, something that we were doing all the time, but we maybe didn't realise. So it's really easy to add these things and put them in. So yeah.
And then this was also a wee what we had a few children doing it. It was a picture of a wee one that was taking part in sequencing. So again, Fiona says it's something that we always do. So she was identifying beginning, middle and end. So she was sequencing a story. So by recognising the beginning, the middle and the end of a story, she was able to demonstrate the logical sequencing.
And then, thanks to Amanda, with her big box that came from South Ayrshire, she dropped her box in, and we used the resources that are in our box. Big box. Lots of digital resources. We had Codapillars, the B-bots, the robots. So these were all resources that the children were able to then start coding and start creating patterns with.
Sequencing.
Well, yeah, that
We
was a great help.
booked the box out a good few times, and I think the more we're getting the box, the more children were becoming confident at using the resources that were in the box. And I mean, even still now, they ask for the box, and they ask for the robots and the B-bots, and
I think we quickly realised as well that our preschool children were much more engaged in the sort of coding side to things, but our anti-pre children, or the younger children, were more about just wanting to play and explore and sort of use these digital resources. But definitely the older children were much more involved and could understand and could debug and all these sort of things for our coding, which was great.
And I certainly think the children gained a lot especially when we were doing the award, of using the box and using the resources that were in it. So what we and the children gain from working towards this award, so as Fiona just said, the younger children, it was more about encouraging them to explore the resources and engage with them. They like just to bring them out the box and have a wee play about, and then kind of step by step we introduced wee things to them, whereas the preschoolers were a lot more understanding the concept of coding and sequencing, and we had them doing, trying to get like the caterpillars from like A to B, so it was getting them to understand how to put on certain maybe parts of the caterpillar that could turn to get from one area to another, and they did enjoy that.
And they did. They were quite good at, by the end of it, they were quite good at being able to follow the sequence and change it or move it around. So they were, it was really good. I mean, we looked at the toolkit that was provided. We were totally overwhelmed, like I said at the start. We were a bit like, oh, I don't know what to do. We did feel like we were out of depth until we took the criteria one by one, because we did have to just go, right, we need to take each wee bit and look at it individually. I think taking all 5 of them and trying to do all 5 at one time was going to be far too much.
Yeah.
So it was basically about taking one step at a time. And once we broke it all down, the evidence was required was easier to gather, because we became more confident within ourselves and we knew exactly what we were looking for. So I think definitely breaking it down and taking your time and doing one step at a time would be my advice.
And I think as well going forward, when we were pulling our evidence together, we done like a different PowerPoint for each criteria. So we could do one criteria first and bring all the evidence together, and then we could see if there was like gaps missing, or we could have to go back and maybe like look and see if we could add things. But at least we knew once one PowerPoint was done, we could then focus on the next criteria and then the next criteria, which we felt made it a lot easier for us to break it down and get through it. Just our advice to you, so for those considering to take part in the award, as we said, approach the process with an open mind, engage your entire team in the journey, as the effort from everyone will make it a wee bit more smoother. Document all your progress. At first we thought we had nowhere near enough progress until Amanda told us just to press the submit button. And finally, remember the goals to create a sustainable and an enriching digital environment that will benefit young children and provide them with new skills, and of course achieve the award. You can all do it. And that's us.
That's us.
I just wanted to kind of jump in and say, I honestly didn't do anything other than keep pushing and slightly encouraging. And honestly, Fiona and Cara, I'm blown away with you. And I know that you struggled and you were overwhelmed. And it was that just step by step. And you've both been on a journey and making the links between what you already do, which is hundreds. And you've said it over and over, you already do it in early years. And just having the confidence to make the connections and then hit the submit button. And I think Callum and I felt the same. It was just like, come on, just hit the submit button, because you were just, the amount of evidence that you had was just unbelievable, absolutely incredible. So I'm so incredibly proud to know you and to work with you. And on to the next award, I think.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Well done, ladies. Thanks. Okay, Callum, I'll hand over to you now. Thank you very much.
No, thanks very much. So I'm very similar to kind of Amanda. I do feel like I was almost the middleman and kind of helping create that kind of link between kind of DSAS and the schools through our pilot in North Lanarkshire as well. So as part of my role as a digital pedagogy practitioner, we kind of help the schools kind of go through their DSAS awards, usually kind of help with the kind of gathering of evidence and bringing all that kind of stuff into it as well. So what are we kind of looking to do from now on? Oh, sorry, is on the question?
If you want to choose to do it paper, fine, but I want it online.
Online, yes.
Sorry, Callum, it's not. It's just
Sorry,
some.
no, it's fine. It's fine.
Sure they're all muted. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. No, I suppose I was just saying, so part of our kind of role is kind of helping with the DSAS kind of gathering of evidence and getting them to kind of submit to the award as much as we possibly can, and ensuring that our schools have the kind of digital kind of framework in place throughout the school embedded, which is fantastic. Stephen and his team at kind of Glenboig have kind of shown that massively through their own DSAS and also from the kind of the ECCo award as well, which I'm not going to spend too much more time kind of going over it. I think we'll just let Stephen kind of kick on and show off the amazing journey that they've had through their progress as well.
Yeah, my name's Stephen O'Neill. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Digital School Awards and everyone else involved. It's been a fantastic journey. I just wanted to start off by kind of talking about Glenboig Primary Schools, well, where our journey's been prior to that award as well. So, oh, if it will move, it's on full screen, but it wouldn't move. There we go. There we are. So just to talk about digital at Glenboig to begin with, and I'll keep this short. In 2019, we added digital learning onto the school improvement plan after self-evaluation, parent and pupil feedback surveys and classroom observations informed us that we needed to improve outcomes in digital learning. We then thought, well, what's the next step? And it kind of links into what Catherine was saying, because we didn't really know how we were going to improve or where to start in terms of improving digital. But we then looked into Digital School Awards and we found that there is that criteria there is the framework. And that was so helpful to look at the self-evaluation and the audit process, because it allowed us to see exactly where we were kind of missing things or where digital was, where our strengths were and where the areas really were to improve. So it was really very helpful. We then looked at looking at digital policies and user agreements for children to have. And the policy kind of was over 2 years and also continues to be updated. It's a working document simply because digital is always changing. And also at the time we were just starting out in our journey anyway, so we didn't really know what digital would look like in school, at that moment in time. Then we looked at looking at progressive planners. We now have North Lanarkshire way planners, which is really, really good. But at the time, we kind of trialled out our own planners in school. And then our digital leaders, we have 4 senior digital leaders at the top end of the school in P7, and then 2 leaders in each other class. And that means that we don't lose those skills. Our P7 senior digital leaders kind of train the rest of the children throughout the school. So digital kind of continues throughout the school. And we also have a digital committee made up of children from across the school too. So we achieved our Digital School Awards in 2021. And our next step was to build on the success of our after-school coding clubs. We used these clubs as a place to trial what worked well for us as a school. And in terms of the coding club, it was actually a really good example of, it allowed us to, in a more informal setting, look at what are we skilled at, what kind of new technology can we kind of look at purchasing and piloting some of our coding apps and websites. That allowed us to then think, right, what's working well for the children in school, what's working well for us as teachers, and then we kind of brought that into the actual curriculum as well and looked at coding across the school. So our confidence with coding grew over the next few years, and we're delighted to be asked to participate in the pilot for the Equitable Creative Coding Award. We started again this time by looking at the criteria and looking at that framework, and that's what I would say to anyone that's going to look at the Equitable Creative Coding Award, or the ECCo Awards. I want to make sure I get it correct. I would say look here first, because once you sign up, then the criteria is quite good to really look at. You can clearly see what each of these are, and also it's kind of broken down too. So the criteria for this award is split into 5 categories. Therefore, when we were compiling and collecting our evidence, we also split our evidence into the same 5 categories. Here it is here. So we created a group of 5 folders on our staff OneDrive or a SharePoint where we could upload evidence. So myself and other teachers as well, if we thought, right, we're doing a little bit of coding, then evidence could actually be uploaded. And eventually the evidence was then converted into 5 PowerPoints, similar to what the other school were talking about as well, that our evidence in the end we submitted as 5 individual PowerPoints for each of the 5 areas in the criteria. What evidence do we gather? Well, for each of the 5 categories, the Digital School Award provides examples of what evidence can be gathered. And that's something when you first look at it, you're thinking, what does computational thinking in the world around us actually mean? Well, and what evidence can I gather for that? Then I think it's really helpful that when you click on it and it kind of a drop-down box appears to say, well, here's the evidence you can include. It doesn't need to be everything. I know that Catherine said that earlier on, because you don't want to kind of, you know, it would be too much to put absolutely everything in, but it's really beneficial as it lets you know if you're on the right track and think, if you think, is that really an example, then you can look at that and see. Presenting the evidence. The other thing actually is that in each of the categories, for example, in computational thinking in the world around us, you can see that it's kind of then says a statement below that as well. So it says learners are taught to, number 1, identify shapes, patterns, processes and sequences in a range of activities across the curriculum. And number 2 being to recognise the benefits of working logically, progressively and sequentially in a range of contexts. And number 3 to classify, sort, group, arrange and compare information and so on. So each of the 5 sections of criteria is actually broke down further, and it shows you kind of step by step what each of the criteria actually, what does that mean? You know, what is computational thinking in the world around us? Then it's then broke down further again. So at first I was thinking, right, where do you begin with computational thinking in the world around us? What sort of things can I evidence, but also what does it mean? And I really like these statements that kind of fall underneath each of them to really explain what they are. So it's a breakdown of each category, and we use that breakdown to split our evidence into subheadings. So where it says learners are taught to and it's got 1, 2 and 3, we then use that to split our PowerPoint. So our 5 different PowerPoints were then split into subheadings in each of them based on those kind of statements there. So I have put in an example of the computational thinking in the world around us, which is why it does look like there's a lot. So this is what our evidence looked like. Again, you don't need to do 2 or 3 for each kind of part, would be fine. We probably did over the summary parts, but I'll show you an example of what I mean. So the first section of the criteria was computational thinking in the world around us. And then this is the first of the subheadings, where we look at identifying shapes, patterns, processes and sequences. And then I'll just show you a little example, and I will flick through this quite quickly. There's kind of what we did, just sequencing a story. I've used a tweet or a post, whatever you want to call it on X now. I've put a tweet here in the middle of what we've tweeted at the time, and also put in pictures to kind of show what that is too, and then a little statement as well that the children have come up with. Again, what I would say is actually a lot of these things, and I know we talked about that before, we actually do a lot of these things for the coding awards anyway, and teachers were surprised when I was going about taking pictures of different things. They're like, what's that got to do with coding? But I was like, actually, you know, you're sequencing your pattern, the patterns in art. We also had a thing with kilts as well at one point. I think that will come up in a wee second. But it doesn't just have to be online coding. And again, this is an example of like music notes and the children reading the music notes and kind of breaking all that down as well. So it isn't just about, you know, being online, being coding, but actually things you're doing every day in the classroom as well can be examples too, and creating instructions and problem solving. And we'll just come up to the second one. Oh, there's the kilts there. For the second section again, so that this is what I mean about breaking down that first criteria and then breaking it down into the 3 separate sections. This here is about recognising the benefits of working logically, progressively and sequentially. So again, that was children constructing robots. We had our chess club, and then just some construction as well that people, I think that was a topic work actually about pyramids. And then the final, and you can see that that section was actually pretty short. It wasn't so it doesn't mean that every single part has to have lots in it. As long as you can evidence it and you are doing those things, and you know that's acceptable. Classify, sort, group, arrange and compare information from a range of sources. And then this is what we've added in for that as well. Organising files, sort and push and pull objects, sorting fractions and grouping coins. And then I'll just move on to the next part. So you can see that a lot of these things we actually do, and it involves maths, it involves art. It doesn't actually need to be, as I say, online coding. It can actually be offline coding as well. So have a think of that too. There's actually lots of these things you will be doing in class or in school or in a nursery setting, wherever you are. There's a lot of these things you will cover and you don't realise that. So what was our validation like? You were asked to create a timeline for a 1-hour virtual visit for the validation for the Equitable Creative Coding Award. So our visit included an initial discussion with the head teacher and myself. We included a pupil group of learners who shared a short PowerPoint. There was a staff group where staff members shared what their experience was with coding, And we also included a parent group. Again, that was optional. We just thought it was good to get the parents kind of and see what they were seeing with coding, because we were bringing parents in for like an open afternoon to say, right, or an open afternoon, sorry, would include a section of or an aspect of coding within it as well, so that the children were then teaching parents or grandparents or whoever was in to see them that day in the afternoon. And we then achieved the Equitable Creative Coding Award, and we're delighted to achieve this. And we want to say a huge thank you to everyone at the Digital School Awards, because it was such a positive experience. And that's what I would say. It's definitely not something, as we said earlier, to trip anyone up. It's actually a really positive experience. The pupils loved it. You know, obviously the teachers as well, we loved it too. So it was a positive experience and really enjoyable. And I just want to say thank you so much. If there's anything at all that we can help you with, then that's my contact details. That's the school contact details as well. But what I definitely would say advice-wise is go for it, and you can do it as in work through section by section, or you could do what we did, which was create the 5 different folders for each of the criteria, and then just start to upload pictures or evidence throughout several months, or however long you kind of want to work on the award for, a year or so, whatever your kind of timeline or your scale is, and then look at the evidence and see what you've gathered, because I think you'll be surprised at how much you've actually managed to gather over all that time. So yeah, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Callum, as well, for telling me to. I think you had the same, hitting that submit button. I was kind of sitting there for ages and saying, I don't think we're ready yet. But actually, when I looked at what we gathered, it surprised myself. I did surprise myself and think, wow, we've really put together quite a lot here. But as I say, look at the 5 categories. You can see that they're kind of broken down. Each of the 5 categories are broken down within that. And then also you've got your evidence as well there too, which I think is very helpful. So yeah, please sign up and go and see, and you'll see the categories and click on the drop down so you can see it too. And then I think it's very helpful. So thank you so much.
Make sure you can present there if you would like to share your screen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi everybody, I'm Kim. I am at Torbain Primary in Fife, and I'm just going to share a little bit about our journey towards the Wellbeing Award. I'm not going to share my screen because I've got some little guys to show you instead. They're a bit more exciting than my screen. But it's so interesting listening to everybody's stories, because there's so many things I found myself nodding along to in terms of the way everybody talked about gathering validation, feeling like they weren't ready and realising that they actually were. So I'm going to try to kind of chat about our journey without reiterating too much of what other people have said, but I fully agree with everything that everyone said so far. Our kind of reasoning for going for the Digital Wellbeing Award was that we had achieved the Digital Schools Award. We were aware of the Wellbeing Award, and I think for me, as the digital lead in the school, I was very aware that we did Online Safety Day very well, something that we probably all do really well, but I was very aware that it was very much Online Safety Day once a year in February, and with the best will in the world, how did we develop that a little bit further? So Internet Safety Day around 2019, 2020, we set the children a competition to design digital mascots. So the children, these are some of the winners. We had some of the winning designs made into mascots, and we've got mascots that we have shared out from infants all the way up to the upper school. And this was our idea, really, to try and raise the profile of digital wellbeing and to get the children and the staff really to think about wellbeing as a wider subject, not just device-based. We felt Digital Awards obviously quite focused on devices and things, whereas the Wellbeing Award, looking at the validation criteria, it was very much the wider picture and the wellbeing of the kind of wider child. So we initiated these digital mascots at assemblies, and the idea that it's kind of developed. So what we're doing at the moment is every couple of weeks at assembly, a class is chosen to have a digital mascot. During the fortnight that class has the digital mascot, it's just raising the awareness in their class of anything digital that they do. They can snap a photo of it, they can just chat about it. The next assembly, the mascot will be passed on to someone else, to another class, and the children can share very informally anything digital that they've done. And it was really just our way of doing it in an informal manner, manageable for teachers and children as well. But
even getting the pupils to understand that there's lots of discussions we have in class. We chat about social media, especially being a teacher in the upper school. We chat about social media very regularly. We're always chatting children through different scenarios. It comes into our health and wellbeing lessons a lot, especially at second level. So it was really just getting everyone, a whole school approach towards understanding that digital wellbeing is wider. And I think in terms of what other people said, in terms of feeling like they weren't ready for the award, I very much felt the same. I was going through the criteria. For the main digital award, I did what other people had suggested in terms of adding evidence of different PowerPoints, and I think I had a OneNote when I did that. For this one, I actually just uploaded it straight to the website. So I agree with whoever said about taking one at a time. I just took one at a time, and I actually realised as I went through a couple of the criteria how much evidence we did actually have. And I think one of the most valuable things for me that I would encourage people to do going for either award is how much your colleagues can help you. So there's a couple of sections of the award that I thought we're really not there yet. We've got this whole school approach that we've been working towards now. But there's a couple of sections I don't feel like I've got any evidence for that. And then chatting with the management team and other people that take on different leads in the school, I realised that actually we do. Do you know, the digital award linked in really well with the emotion works that is embedded in the school, a lot of the work on nurture that we've been doing. We've had some groups running in upper school, things like Our Girls Can, Together We Can. We've had active schools involved in a lot of the nurturing approaches that we've been embedding over the last few years. So it was that kind of realisation in chatting with colleagues that made me really realise actually we've done a lot more. We have a lot more evidence than we realise. So I think my takeaway for someone at the start of their journey is really how much it can benefit you by having those conversations. And if you are the person that's kind of taking the lead on it, thinking about how much other people can input to that, because that was invaluable for me in this award. And we found that actually once we had achieved the Digital Wellbeing Award, we then went to apply for the Emotion Works Award, and a lot of the works that we'd done on the Wellbeing Award linked to the two kind of areas. So I think that for me, that was really important. And just continuing the mascots, we've had them running for a few years now. We've tried different ways of working them, but I think even just that, especially in infants and down the school, I think even just having that awareness, this is your digital mascot, what are you doing that's digital today, is enough until you're at the level where digital wellbeing can be understood a little bit more by the children. But as I mentioned, I think in terms of engaging with colleagues was my really big takeaway. The validation process was very straightforward. Catherine was really clear in terms of when we communicated, as she's mentioned already, about not having every box ticked. I very much definitely held off click and submit like other people have said. But I think that reassurance, and from the Fife Digital team as well, they were good at giving reassurance in terms of it's not about dotting every I, but actually you do. And I think that the process of collecting the evidence is really valuable as a school. It's a really good audit as a school to kind of look back and go, no, wait, we have actually done quite a lot on this journey. And I think in terms of the validation visit as well, as Catherine mentioned, she's very flexible. The validators are very flexible in how you want that to look. So we involved a group of digital leaders. We involved some staff that have taken different leads and different nurturing approaches, things we found led in quite well to the award, members of management. So I think having that flexibility in terms of us deciding what and who could share different things was really valuable. It really allowed us to kind of take our different staff skills and look at how they all fed into this award. So it was a really positive experience for us. I think my only other thing I wanted to mention is how valuable the digital leaders team are. Like the previous school mentioned, we have a team of digital leaders in primary 6 and 7. So the primary 7s move on and the 6s will become the senior digital leaders. And especially being in class full time, I found them absolutely invaluable. Once they're trained up, the amount of work that they're able to do in terms of digital wellbeing, we were able to train them up to the level where they understood exactly what it meant, why we were going for the award. I think they were quite valuable in terms of the validation visit. It wasn't a kind of ticky box to include the children, but actually they fully understood this journey. So for me, they were invaluable in terms of supporting me, I think, with the journey as well. So yeah, really positive experience. And just to reiterate what other people have said in terms of it's not as daunting as you think, and criteria, taking each criteria at a time, I think is a really a good starting point for anyone at the beginning of the journey.
Well, thanks so much, Kimberly. It was an exceptional validation. I really enjoyed it, and I have to confess that I really pushed you as a school because you were so good. I was asking some really difficult questions that I didn't expect you to be able to answer, and you just blew me away.
And we had a few moments of panic at sort of a couple of your questions, but we managed. But I think that was positive as well, because I think you being able to push us probably a wee bit out of our comfort zone did make us realise, no, we do have things, we can answer that.
Yes, yeah, it was really good, really good. And it was really great to see such a whole school approach, and how you did sort of like Glenberg School, you really sort of looked at the wider picture and really, you know, looked at all the different elements of digital wellbeing, and like you say, not just the kind of traditional cybersecurity day. You know, you looked at all the different ways that it's embedded across the school, and your evidence was exceptional. It was really good. And it always surprises me when you say that you didn't feel ready to submit the button when you had an absolute abundance of exemplary evidence. It was exceptional, and it was really it's been really lovely to work with you and follow your digital journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, we have more mascots, by the way. These are just two. So if you're interested, the mascot on the chat, I see is popular. So if you want to see photos of the other one, I'm happy to share them over. The children that won the competition, you can imagine, were delighted. We found a lady on Etsy who made the soft toys on the kids' design. So you can imagine how excited they were. We did have to make it really clear at the start of the competition that the school had to keep them, so they were a wee bit sad. But they have been popular, so I recommend that as a wee competition if anyone's looking for that.
They're super, especially for your younger learners as well, who just need, you know, that concrete object. They need something to be able to hold, to feel, to make those associations. So thanks for sharing. Super. Anna, do you have anything that you want to add, or does anyone have any questions?
No, I'm good, Eva. I think my Wi-Fi is not great, so I won't keep going. But thank you so much for hosting, Eva. I think this has been a fantastic session.
Been very insightful, and just the positivity is just really it's beaming out everyone that's presented tonight. So thanks so much everyone for taking the time to put all your evidence together again to share with us tonight, and for answering the questions. We will upload the recording to the DigiLearn Scott YouTube channel, and I think Stephen, you provided your email there, so you may get some questions further along the line, or some may come via us or via the Digital Schools Award. So thank you. Oh, Amanda.
Hi, sorry,
very
I just
polite. She's
pop
got
in.
her hand up.
Yes, I thought I would just put my hand up. I don't usually, but I thought I would on this occasion. I just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you to the Digital Schools Awards folk, who are just so incredibly supportive and helpful, and I mean, they're just amazing. So they're always there at the end of an email, dead easy and quick to reach out, but also to Eva at Education Scotland, who has just been a huge support as well for all of these awards. So massive thank you. And I can't recommend enough for everybody to go for these awards. They're not just the kids get an awful lot out of them, but it's a really great opportunity for some professional learning and professional development for us as practitioners. So I can't recommend it enough. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Amanda.
Thanks very much.
Thanks everyone for joining tonight. If you do have any questions, feel free, pop them in just now, or forever hold your peace and you can send them in via email later on, or connect with us on our DigiLearn Scott or our school's digital Twitter accounts as well. So if no one has any more questions, I'll stop the recording and then I'll just end the call. So thanks for your time again, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.